So this is my 2023 Ford Super Duty. It's an F350 in rapid red. It's got the Power Stroke diesel, Lariat trim package. So far, I absolutely love the truck. It's been great. Gets very good mileage. I get 24 miles per gallon on the highway. You know, not towing. But so far, it's been a great truck. Now, the sticker price on this truck was $89,545, which is a ridiculous amount of money. Now, I didn't pay quite that much for it, but pretty close to that. This truck scores a C- as far as greenhouse gas ratings go, which is probably good, because that's pretty much the kind of student I was in high school. Well, except for math. I was always good at math. Now, you know what's interesting? Back in 2014, a new F350 equipped the same way with the diesel, Lariat package, 8-foot bed, crew cab, all that was about $48,000, okay? So basically, the price of that truck has almost doubled in 10 years, and I'm convinced it's gonna double again in the next 5, and maybe even triple in the next 8. And here's why. Now, this just came out yesterday. This is straight from the EPA's website. But Biden-Harris administration finalizes strongest ever pollution standards for cars that position U.S. companies and workers to lead the clean vehicle future, protect public health, address the climate crisis, and save drivers money. All right? They're saying this is going to save drivers money. Now, before I get into why I'm convinced that new trucks are going to double in price at least in the next 5 years, I want to make something very clear. I have nothing against EVs. I don't. I think for some people, they may be a good fit. For me and my family and our lifestyle, it just wouldn't work with what is currently on the market. Not even close. You know, I've mentioned before, we have a cabin down in West Virginia. It's about a 2.5-hour drive. I can drive that Super Duty. I can pull a trailer. It's got a 48-gallon tank. I can pull 9,000 pounds down, back, and at least partway back on a single tank of fuel. Where an EV, the best range I have seen towing is maybe 120 miles. I don't even think I could make it there one time in an EV. Just wouldn't work for us. It's one thing I really like about the Super Duty is that big fuel tank. The biggest problem I have with that truck is you sometimes forget to put fuel in it because you go so long in between fuel ups. On the highway, I can probably get close to 1,000 miles before I need to refill, which I really like that. All right, things are getting serious, putting the cheaters on so I can see what I'm reading. But last night I attempted to read through the EPA's new rules regarding emissions, and it's about 1,100 pages long. Now, it's not an EV mandate. I mean, they're not calling it that. However, it pretty much is. What it comes down to is this. The EPA, this is their words, not mine, said that under its final rule, the industry could meet the limits if 56% of new vehicle sales are electric by 2032. Now, what they're saying is they're making all the emissions, the standards so strict, and they're doing it fleet-wide. So in other words, you know, Ford last year sold probably 700,000 F-150s. If they want to continue to do that, by 2027, just in a couple years, for every one F-150 that they make, they'll have to make 2 F-150 Lightnings. By 2032, for every one F-150 that they make, they'll have to make 4 Lightnings. I think Ford sold around 70,000 EVs last year. That includes the Ford Lightning, that Mustang Mach-E, I guess it is, Ford Transit vans. They sold around 70-some thousand EVs in 2023. And like I said, they sold over 700,000 F-150s with internal combustion engines. So about 10% of their sales were EVs, just comparing it to the F-150. That's not all the commercial vehicles, the SUVs, the big expeditions, the Super Duties, but I think they sold a little over 1 million trucks between F-150s and Super Duties. So in order to get to 56% by 2032, a lot of things have to change. Now, the F-150s and the Super Duties, like I said, they have gone up in price almost double in the last 10 years. Part of that is due to inflation, but I think the biggest part is that is what is funding the EV programs for these vehicles. The internal combustion engine vehicles is what is paying for all the investment in the EVs, and this is being mandated by the government in a roundabout way. So over the last 6 months, give or take, it's become pretty apparent that EV sales have started to slow down quite a bit, actually. A good example is, just a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, people were paying $15,000 or $20,000 over sticker price for an F-150 Lightning, whereas today, Ford is offering up to $15,000 in rebates, plus a $7,500 tax credit if you buy the Lightning. And they're not doing that because sales are good. They wouldn't do that. They're doing that because sales are down and they need to get rid of these things. We've also seen, I think it was Hertz, they greatly reduced their EV fleet, but I think this new ruling from the EPA is going to get them started again. All right, I was just reading through the numbers from what I was talking about earlier. I may not have been exact on the number of F-150s sold, but bottom line is this. In 2023, Ford sold a little over 2 million vehicles total. Out of that, about 70,000 were EVs. Now, by 2032, to comply with the new rules from the EPA, if they sell 2 million vehicles then, a little over 1.1 million will have to be EVs. Now they're saying it's not an EV mandate. To me, it kind of seems like it is. Now the reason that I'm convinced the price of these trucks, like the Super Duties and the F-150s with the gas engine, is going to go through the roof is this. They're all losing money on these EVs. Ford Motor Company's losing money. And to offset those losses, they're going to have to keep raising the prices on those trucks. Plus, they're not going to be able to sell as many of them. So it just comes down to supply and demand, along with them offsetting their losses. The internal combustion engine is what is paying for all the EV programs. And none of this makes sense to me at all. But I will say this, if you're in the market for a new truck, I never tell anybody what to do. I don't care what anybody else does. I think now might be the time to buy it. We just got to the point where things kind of settled down a little bit. During COVID and all that, supply chain issues, all that stuff, people were paying $5,000, $10,000 over sticker price. Well, we started to see the prices kind of get back a little closer to reality, where people were paying sticker and now a little bit under sticker price on trucks. Not near the discounts that you see on EVs, but things are starting to get a little bit more sane and normal. Now, I think it's going to go the other direction. If you want an EV, I think this is going to be good for you. I do. But I just don't like, I don't like this because this is literally market manipulation by the government. They're telling us what we're going to buy in a roundabout way. And they're doing so because the price of the trucks that we want is going to go through the roof, and the price of the trucks we don't want is going to drop like a rock. And this is going to have huge consequences. This is like historic. It really is. If this isn't challenged in court and overturned, it's going to be a whole different world. I just don't see how it works out. None of it makes sense to me. There's so many things that aren't being talked about, like the charging stations, for example. Let's say it takes you 5 minutes to fill up your truck right now at the gas or diesel pump. And let's say it takes 40 minutes to charge your EV, and I'm being generous. That's 8 times as long. So with that being said, if we had all EVs, you would need 8 times the charging stations as we currently have for gas pumps. And there's so much more to this stuff, like taxes on gas and diesel that are generated and taken by the state and federal government. That money's going to be replaced somehow. It's billions and billions of dollars that they're collecting on fuel taxes. They don't talk about how that's going to be replaced. Just the weight of these vehicles. Electric vehicles weigh more, like an F-150 Lightning, I think weighs around 6,500 pounds, about 2,000 pounds more than a regular F-150. I mean, how does that react in accidents with other vehicles? Wear and tear on the highways. There's just a lot of unanswered questions. I think they're jumping into things. I don't know what the agenda is or why, but I am convinced, I'm convinced price of a regular pickup truck is going to go through the roof. And like I said, I don't care what anybody else does, but now may be the time to get the new truck and hope it lasts you the rest of your life. Because if you need one with an internal combustion engine, now's the time. Personally, I think they should embrace diesel engines more. That'll never happen, but like I said, that truck is an F350 8-foot bed crew cab, and driving down the highway, I get 23, 24 miles per gallon out of it. Now, can you imagine what you could get in a small car with an efficient diesel engine in it? You'd be 60, 70 miles per gallon, no trouble at all. So basically what it comes down to is this. That truck right there, along with F-150s, those are the types of trucks that people want. If Ford is going to continue to make these, for every one of these, they're going to need to make about 2 F-150 Lightnings or other EVs that people don't want. And what that's going to do is drive the price of these through the roof, and the price of EVs are going to drop like a rock. Like I said, that's good for you if you want an EV, bad for the rest of us. Anyway, that's my take on things. It really is. I don't see any way that cannot happen. But anyway, before I wrap this up, I wanted to mention, if you are new to our channel and you're into the finer things in life, like sawing lumber and running equipment and cabin in West Virginia or firewooding, any of those types of things, consider subscribing. Appreciate y'all being here, and I will catch you on the next one.